information by email ahead of time, so I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would move we accept the consent agenda.
Doing a second, Ken?
Sure.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Public comment. Would any of the public like to make a comment this morning?
Pretty quiet public.
Yeah, well, really.
Good morning.
Well, we're moving on. Lana, go ahead and bring us up to date.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Prospect 219 is an industrial prospect that we visited with the first time on February 1st. They made a trip out here. We were able to meet with them actually most of that day, brought in some utility providers as well as realtors, and looked at some sites that may work for them. They have some very specific needs as far as zoning and location within the county, and I think we've been able to meet those with the sites that we've submitted to them, so hopefully we'll hear back from them shortly. Prospect 1018 one is another industrial project. We have sent them some sites for review, and they're still considering whether or not they're going to expand into that line of business. 8181 Project Birmingham, I didn't actually get the most recent update on here. They will be back in town for some additional meetings with our public entities as well as utility partners in the middle of April. 7181 is an industrial project. They have visited sites and will follow up with us. 4182, this is actually the tax abatement went through the county commission this past month. Good morning, Ron. This is the livestock nutrition services, and things have gone really well for them. They did quite an extensive expansion of those facilities, and I think they're very pleased that they made the decision to come to Finney County. Excuse me. Project Rochester is the project that has most recently gone through the TIF process through the City Commission, and we continue to work with them and help them through that process. 5163, I did have fairly extensive discussions with Congressman Marshall's office while I was in DC regarding this project, and have some really good feedback from that, so we'll continue to move forward. Transload facility, we did submit our most recent quarterly and annual report to KDOT. As you guys know, that was kind of a pilot, if you will, to do the transload facility funding throughout the state. So they continue to monitor our site and report back to their stakeholders as to how that investment is working for the state. They've been very pleased with all of the growth that we've been able to do through the transload facility, but also obviously the reuse of the former packing house property. It has been well received by the state stakeholders. We did have another very busy month, and we worked with Hector Martinez at Garden City Community College on some discussions with the Kansas Board of Regents and a program that they're looking to do to grant some funds out to community colleges. Kind of a unique offering. Very similar to the Workforce AID program that we did previously, but Workforce AID was really designed towards folks who weren't currently working because they were either lacking some skills or something along those lines. This program is actually designed to really target existing employees that folks have who may need some additional training up, if you will, to be more successful in their jobs. So it's a really unique offering. I like that they've gone this direction and are willing to partner with our employers on their existing workforce base. So it was a very good discussion, and we had excellent representation there. So we're hopeful that that goes the way we think it will, and that the community college is able to secure that grant and we're able to move forward with it. Did visit with Meese Trucking quite a bit. They had significant concerns about the bypass project. And fortunately, the county commission was able to take action and really help our local trucking firms out with that. For Meese, it would have probably ended up costing them, when they went through the logistical analysis, they would probably have had to have added 2 additional trucks to meet the timelines, just because of how much it would have slowed them down had they had to take the alternate routes. So they were very pleased. He had it estimated somewhere around $500,000 extra that it would have cost them during that period of the bypass being shut down. So we were very thankful that the county commission was able to work with our local truckers on that. I attended an early learning discussion in Topeka that the governor spoke at, and several legislators were present for that. And interestingly, there's a big push on the national level to really promote early learning and recognize the value of not just daycare, but truly understanding that that's our best opportunity to really impact the futures of those children. So it was exciting to be a part of that and realize that all of the things that we've designed and everything that we've worked on really meshes up perfectly with that new big push that everybody's kind of getting on the bandwagon for. So we're very excited about that. I did just get back from DC yesterday afternoon, had excellent visits with our elected officials and their staffers, which is so oftentimes more important, making sure they know who we are and that we may be calling for assistance on stuff. So very pleased with those discussions. And this month we have, again, we have a follow-up meeting with Project Birmingham. We also have several child care discussions that happen this month, both with employers and with child care providers within the community and those who are interested in starting centers. So we'll continue to work through all of those. And that's all I have for you folks.
Any questions?
Sounds like another busy month.
I just have one thing. Do you know that the Holcomb school system is putting in a daycare?
We have not visited with them.
They are.
We would be.
I talked to the administrator, and he said that a lot of teachers are coming over here to have their kids taken care of, and it'd be best to have them right there. So,
Yeah. And Holcomb actually has a larger representation of in-home child care facilities available than we do, unfortunately, but that's good. Yeah, and we'll be happy, if they need access to anything. Going through the school district should be a much easier route for them. They don't have to license through the state if they truly run it as part of the district, which can create some savings for them, certainly. So.
and we do have rooms.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
if they're actually putting it in the school?
Yes, it's going to be in the old part of the school,
Okay.
where the old gymnasium is.
Okay.
The part to the north, they have the whole where the administration is.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, awesome.
That's excellent.
So a couple classrooms, one classroom?
I'm not sure. I just happened to go over and talk to him a few minutes, and he says, "Yep, we're already in the process of doing it."
Oh, wow.
Good.
Sounds like a contact for you, Nicole, maybe see what's going on, nothing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, Nicole?
Good morning.
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 The Youth Development Committee for Workforce has been busy getting the student job fair planned. It will be next month on April 24th. We've done these in the past. We took a couple years off just because, not that the students weren't interested in jobs, but we had some employer, I guess I should say, issues. Most of them are wanting to hire 18 and above, and so we kind of had to have a little conversation of, if you have retail, food service type jobs that are available that we can. This is summer help for a lot of these kids. So at the students' request this year, they asked that we have another job fair. We have a lot of kids that are looking for summer help and having some trouble due to their schedules getting out and able to job search. So they came to the Career Center at the high school and asked if we would have a job fair for them again. So I think that was a positive note for them. So that is next month, April 24th. The registration is up right now on our website. So if you're interested in that, we also have flyers in the office. As Lana said, we've been working with Hector on the potential of the AOK grant program that he's working on. I think we had good representation from employers on Friday for the luncheon. A lot of interest was generated in that, so hopefully he can move forward and secure that grant. This week, while Lana was in Washington DC, we met with representatives from George Washington University, so they passed each other somewhere in the air. They came in and met with us for about an hour, hour and a half. They are working with the American Communities Project, and their first leg of the project was they are researching the health of communities across the country, and they've done the urban communities, and so now the next part of their grant was to work on the rural communities, and they went through a whole matrix of how they ranked the rural counties across the country, and Finney County and Gove County ranked in
Gove?
Kansas. So they picked those
Interesting.
two
Yeah.
out of Kansas. So they came and whatever.
Well, they got a nice hospital up there and small town America between larger cities.
Very small town.
So they came and asked really good questions about our diversity and how we make things work. And I think they ended up staying for 2 days. They attended some committee meetings yesterday. And they're just looking to, from what we gathered, like they said, it's the health of the communities, but drawing some similarities between the urban and the rural lifestyle, but then also the differences. And one of the questions they asked us before they left was, how do you intend to maintain your quality of life and your style of living? So, I mean, I think obviously the rural lifestyle is maybe picking up some popularity again, and it's interesting that they are doing the research project, but they didn't have an angle, they just had really good questions, and they were super interested about our community, so.
Interesting.
And that's about all I have. You guys have questions?
I was kind of surprised when their matrix paired Finney County and Gove County as two that were, I guess, similar or met their.
Well, the matrix
Stuff,
was,
yeah.
I went through the criteria on it, and they had a lot of different criteria. Ours was, we got pegged because of our diversity. Gove County was pegged because they are largely agricultural and they are aging out. So they obviously have a ag community that is aging, and so that's what he said, we're gonna look and see if they have a contingency plan in place, or if it's just this way of life, and Gove County is probably gonna go away, so.
Just
Ghost town, huh?
Just strike that one off. All the farmers get older up there and quit farming, why? We'll be able to send young farmers to Gove County. That'll help.
A question on this youth development. Has there been any discussion with regards to maybe job shadowing for those kids?
Yes.
We
We are currently, Jenny's kind of our go-to, Jenny Hands is our go-to person at the high school, and
Okay.
especially in the spring, she gets a little overwhelmed with getting the kids off to college and applications, stuff like that. But she is currently working with the JAG group
Okay.
to survey them, because they would probably be our smallest population right now in the high school that would be the greatest fit for the job shadows. They have some free time during the day as it is, so we're working with them to hopefully next school year get them in some job shadow situations.
We had a kid that job shadowed with us, and he was excellent. He went to work for a contractor for us after he graduated.
I think
so.
up till now, it's been a little bit difficult just because of the logistics of transportation and things
Right.
like that. But I think Principal Norby's been pretty good about saying, oh, we can work with it, we can figure it out. They've even got some counselors up there that are shuttling the kids back and forth to their job shadows.
Really?
So they're definitely working with us. They understand that it's a priority, especially if, I mean, it's good for the freshman kids to get out and at least they're getting ready to pick an academy. So it's really good for the freshmen to go job
Oh,
shadow,
yeah.
but even as they get up older.
I'm talking like the juniors and
Right.
seniors,
Right.
that those kids are yet to decide whether they're gonna go off to college or not, and if they can find a field that they're interested in, and we're exposing them to all kinds of different things that
Right.
we do, and Bob, you probably in a similar situation where you could get those kids to, hey, yeah, no, I can go take some operator qualification classes and get things moving so that they're good to go and get into the workforce once they do graduate and stick around. And so,
You know, might share a little bit on our Governor's Educational Council. Their particular subcommittee that I serve on, we're focusing on that opportunity for vocational education. And one of the big obstacles we have is that in the school, typically they have to have 23 credit hours to graduate. And, you know, you gotta have Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and there's a whole bunch of jobs out there that don't need an Algebra 2.
That's right.
And the credit concept is really a detriment to those not going on to the 4-year deal. And so there's kind of a question surfacing that is there a different system that could be utilized to measure? And the word we're using right now is preparedness. Basically, are you ready to go on and do something else? You still need some English, you need some speech, you need some math, but maybe in those last 2 years, there's a parallel program that you get credit for doing some other things. In this Department of Commerce theoretically study, it listed the 5 highest ranking need and paying jobs in our region. And it was healthcare, teaching, business, ag, and machining. I didn't quite know how machining, and it really kind of bothered me because I looked at the whole state, all 6 regions that they focused, and construction never shows up. And yet, we've got over half of our employee population is retiring in the next 10 years.
exactly.
And so we've got some real problems, but it's really interesting because right now, the whole concept is that everything's on the table. And if you made a change like this, you not only have to change the ideology of the system, but you also have to change the ideology of the teachers. You know, what they teach, how they're graded, how they're compensated, because just because we've always done it like this doesn't mean it's the only way. And I think it'll be interesting to see where this goes. You know, we've got another meeting here in about 10 days, and we're all kind of working through what we've received so far to go to the next one. And I took advantage, Mike Roth, who was a good old Holcomb boy, is superintendent of schools in Leavenworth. So I called and said, you know, what's it like in Leavenworth? How does it apply? And, oh my God, I'm glad you called. My God, this thing. I've been trying to do this. And I've got a son-in-law who's a superintendent of schools in Burlington. So I've been soaking it up, spent a lot of time with Steve Carlin talking about the same things. And there is so much frustration because they're basically, everyone is measured by this credit and the test scores. And so much of the teaching is about passing a test instead of being prepared for what's going. So it's going to be really interesting to see what develops out of this.
Well, I went through the PowerPoint that you gave me, and so then I went out to the website and did some research on that. And I was reading about the school redesign and all of the schools that applied for it. But the one thing they don't have on there is an update. Do they think that the school redesign is working?
Well, see, basically it's a 3-year deal, and so, you know, they're just really getting into it. I mean, there are schools that don't have bells.
Right.
I mean, they don't have class periods. You go from here to there, and there's some other ones that you have 3 hours in a row, and then you have time off, and so it'll be interesting to see the balance. But at least I think it's interesting that they're starting to look at different things, but it all still right now goes back to the credit hours and the test. You know, it's still all, how did we do here? And as long as that remains as the core evaluation tool, then we potentially have a problem in trying to get some of the people who can do very well. Once you teach them, prepare them to learn, then all kinds of things can happen.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting development, but it's fun to see some of the changing, and the job shadowing is, I think, as important in selection of academies, because a lot of times they don't have any idea whatsoever. And even in ag, you know, it's a kind of situation, there are so many different pieces of ag, from research and development to driving a tractor. I mean, there's every extreme and in between, from budgeting and business skills and everything else. And right now, we have these tunnels, and we've got to get out of those.
Well, and the kids they know the big picture items. They don't get into the details of each career choice. And during the career fair, I mean, they run in packs
Right.
to each table, and it's kind of our job as the ones running the career fair to go break the packs up.
Yeah.
I don't really think that you probably want to be a nurse. You want to be a nurse because your girlfriend's a nurse.
Yeah.
And, it's just those types of things like that. But once you challenge them to truly think about what they want to do, then they're like, oh yeah. But they had no idea that was the career track they needed to head into to do things like that. So I think it's just, with that youth development group, it's kind of our job to keep educating them on what their career choices are and what their opportunities are that are available here as well.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's stressing in the educational deal is that we're losing so much talent from our state. There are those that are going on to college or seeing the bright lights and off they go. And the other people that elect not to go there, they go chase the dollar jobs. And I think what we're seeing is that we need to tie in these academies and everything else like that if you go down this path, these are the opportunities that you can see. And that's why they're pointing out this high-paying jobs in high demand, because in most of them, you can attain those positions without monumental student debt. And I listen to the radio when Purdue University says, we can get your online degree. We have 180 different options in degree programs. Now, come on. 180 different degree options that will market in the community and pay back all the money.
Maybe a quarter of them, or
The real world. I mean, there are some
Yes,
out there,
exactly.
but I mean, it's gotten to a point where they'll write any kind of a degree on a piece of paper as long as you stay 5 years. But they're in business too.
They can
I
see
mean,
you
everybody
there,
has a
that's
job.
right.
And so we've got to find a way to break the traditional pattern. I hate to say it, it's almost anathema, but not everybody needs to go to college,
That's right.
in spite of what people in Washington say. There are other opportunities.
True.
I had the chance to visit with some kids at the 3I show, and they were from Dodge City, but the welding instructor came up to me and said, hey, would you talk to these kids about an opportunity with the gas company and what is there? And so I told them, I said, not everybody's college material. I said, if you want to go and not even get a degree, take some classes to where it pertains to what you want to do in the future. Take advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself. If your teacher takes you to here or there, take advantage of that and see what's out there. And
We
see
have
if you
a lot
an
of people
interest.
running around with certifications that are making $70,000 a year.
Exactly.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways, I think where we're headed, it will lead us more into the 2+2.
Yeah.
The last 2 years of high school, 2 years of technical type training, community college, certification, whatever else you do. I think we're going to come away with an opportunity to succeed with our students and keep them in the area. And give them a great opportunity.
Hell yeah.
So,
One of the other things we're really stressing, and we talk about it all the time now in our Workforce Connection group, is a recognition that what for a long time we're getting called soft skills. And I think our educators had kind of adopted that term. Everybody had kind of adopted that, soft skills, when you talked about working with one another and working within a team and planning a project and all of those things. And we're really pushing, those are essential skills. Let's rename those, because those are the skills that we're hearing from our employers. Problem solving and being able to hold yourself accountable to being on time to work and showing up and bringing your A game when you come to work. All of those things are essential. They're not they're not fluff, which to me the term soft skills unfortunately kind of says that they're kind of important, but they're the throwaway skills, if you will. So that's absolutely one of the things that we're pushing with our employers and with our educational side too, is that, let's really get them accountable for themselves and responsible. And as you said, Bob, prepare them to know how to learn. Once they know how to learn, they can do any job.
Well, and the jobs are changing so rapidly.
Oh,
I mean, the
yes,
job
they
they're
are.
gonna apply for today probably won't exist in 5 years.
That's exactly right.
But if they have been preparing and they know how to learn, then everything else is possible.
That's-
Agreed.
When you say that, when you had the PowerPoint you sent out with the jobs that are in demand in Kansas, and machining isn't in our region, but also, which I kind of was confused, like, well, you think airline manufacturing, whatever. They do have machining in Wichita, but it's specific aircraft machining, which I find interesting because we've had tons of articles on the future of that is going robotics.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they see that as such a high job demand, but
And yet,
Maybe now it is,
it's
and-
the spirits of the world that are coming in and saying, we have to have more of
Right.
these people. And,
To
you know,
push a
I guess
button
even the
eventually?
robots are gonna have someone to program them, so,
babysit
yeah.
them.
Push the
But it
button
was,
to start.
it's an interesting time, because at least there is an opportunity to discuss change.
Absolutely.
And I think as long as that can happen, good things can happen.
I think I brought it up before, but kind of like your shadowing. Over in Australia, New Zealand, they have what they call a backpackers program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really unique. They'll go work 6 months someplace, and they'll move to another place and work 6 months until they kind of find what
Find their
fits them.
niche, find what they're good at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good discussion. All right. Anything else? Okay. Any other questions for Nicole or comments? All
Good
right.
job, Nicole.
Scott,
Good morning.
Morning,
Morning,
Scott.
Scott.
I sent out the report on your desk in front of you there. March was a very busy month for us. As you can see, the website had over 9,000 visits, and that was driven largely by a story I wrote about a kid from Elkhart, Deke Parker. He's 20 years old, and he's a blacksmith. He appeared on the television show Forged in Fire. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that show, but they
Pretty cool.
make knives and swords and compete for $10,000, and Deke actually won his episode. That drove our website hits. More than half of our website visits were to read that story. So it's pretty popular, and you can see that's reflected in our Facebook and Journal and Garden City posts. Each had 18,000 in the Journal and 10,000 engagements of our posts. The Greater Garden City Facebook page had nearly 9,000 post reach and 3,700 post engagements. Our Twitter feed was 4,100 impressions. Normally, we've been seeing 1,200, 2,800 per month, so that's up, which is good. Driven, again, by this story that apparently everybody in Southwest Kansas enjoyed. And you can see that reflected in the top posts and stories there at the bottom. In addition to Deke's story, posts about Garden City Community College's Meets program competition, the high school's culinary program, and one about Shannon, our own Shannon Dick, being appointed to the city commission, ranked pretty high this month. You have any questions on that part of my report? If not, I'll flip to the other part. I also included in my report, there was an incident this month with our website. I won't go through this, read this whole thing to you. This is kind of a narrative I put together. In essence, there was a website that copied and pasted a lot of my content, a lot of our content from Greater Garden City into their website and put different bylines on it and kind of took credit for these stories and things like that. Not just for Greater Garden City, but for like the Telegram and the High Plains Public Radio News Service. Once we found out about it, Lana put together a cease and desist letter to them. And a few days later, they took down all our stuff and all the local content. So you can read that at your leisure and
Yeah, don't mess with
get a
this.
kick out of it. Any questions?
Sounds like you got an opportunity for a part-time job working for somebody else.
That's a funding opportunity.
We
As
just
long as
say-
they paid you,
He
huh?
didn't take it very well when they put their own names on his
I-
stories.
I-
He was a little challenged by
Somewhat
that.
personal, huh?
Yeah.
He did take it personally, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Well, that's just a sign you're doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir.
That's
Appreciate it.
right, Bill, make it a good thing.
That's right.
thanks, Scott, and I know he's working on currently on, working on the Garden City Community College Endowment auction that's upcoming. He's had an interview with Jeremy yesterday and is working on that, so that'll be forthcoming. So, any other questions for Scott? Shannon, wait, congratulations.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
sir.
Commissioner.
On your appointment, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just gonna go over a couple of the projects that I've been working on. A lot of these started in the end of 2018, but we wrapped them up by the March here. So I've been finished up 4 different projects that were counted as consulting for our organization. One of them, the first one was assessing the demographics and some of the basic attitudes of feelings about health and that sort of thing for Gray County. This was working with Deborah Bolton from K-State Research and Extension. We've done similar things in the past for Finney County and Kearney County. They wanted to do it also for Gray County. So a lot of that work was just taking in the survey data that she collected, going through and just kind of reporting out the basic things. One of the interesting things that I saw from there, with one of the questions was, if you had a medical emergency, where would you go seek medical care from? And if we're talking about Gray County, I mean, we are talking Dodge is a little bit closer, but the split was about 50-50, a little bit more for Garden City than Dodge City. So that was interesting to see where that county would seek emergency medical care if needed between the 2 communities. So that was pretty good. Also with this, Deborah Bolton is now up at K-State. She accepted a position still with K-State, but she's teaching multicultural issues for people looking for their late stage students to be able to have a diversity training and stuff like that. So it's really interesting that K-State is feeling that diversity, multicultural issues is something important enough that they're hiring somebody from our area to teach the students about these sort of issues.
It's awesome.
Which is also good for our students because we have a firsthand experience of that. We don't need to have her do this, but talking to her is just really interesting about how aerospace feels like they need to have it as they come through and talk about where those are. So that was that Gray County project. Of course, we finished up the CIP stuff, the capital improvement program. I've talked about that before. So that was good. Got some good information out about that. The airport ranked fairly high this time, and it always does rank high, but we're talking about like the redesign of the terminal and stuff like that. And that came out as one of the more important projects that the community members in Garden City felt the city should take on. And that's, of course, moving forward with FAA's assistance on that. I helped Jennifer Cunningham compile the data for the Big Pool survey. If you've been paying attention to what she's been doing, she went and surveyed all the elementary students from 3rd grade up in Finney County, as well as some in some of the surrounding up in Scott City and Lakin and Deerfield, as well as many community meetings. And we got about 1,600 adult surveys, 1,300 to 1,600 adult surveys in, more than 3,000 youth surveys in. And so I helped Jennifer put together the data and just help her slice up that data so that she could go and build a report for City Commission about the next steps forward on that. And then I also just finished up the annual water data thing with Fred, and that's the bill that you get with the bill that tells you how you're doing. One new piece of information that we're doing in this, and I'm not sure how he's going to report it out, but looking at your water use per square foot of lot size. So how much water are you using every year for the size of lot that you have? And do you have any guess, like if the average household, how much square footage you use?
How many gallons?
How many gallons of water per square foot do you use per year?
I don't want to know.
500?
Oh, no. Not
Wait,
that
no.
high. It's 11 to 17, depending on the neighborhood. So if you take every square foot, put about at least 11 gallons on top of that, that's
Oh,
our
okay.
average,
All right.
that's our average usage over the year. Or you could say about 1 gallon a month per square foot that you have, and that's including, in December, you put a gallon of water on average. I mean, most of that's in the summertime, obviously. So, but I mean, that's a good visual way to represent how much water we're using. I mean, just go look out in your yard. The average yard is putting about 11 gallons per square foot of water in there a year. So we're talking about where can the city save water? It's a lot in that residential usage. So,
Yeah.
those are my
You don't
projects
get to
that
use
we
that
just
much.
concluded on. Any questions? Any?
Have you done any analysis on workforce and our aging workforce that's going out in 5 to 10 years, and what we have coming out of the schools that would be looking at for jobs going forward? Has there been anything, you know, as far as
Anything like that.
like kids that would not go to college but would stay here, and kids that would be going to college that could fill in those positions, so that we would kind of have an idea to target those kids that we would want to stay in the community and be here to fulfill our workforce needs in the future?
Yeah, we could pretty easily, you know, we operate with a lot of national statistics
Right.
relating to that. So there's really no reason why we couldn't extrapolate that down, if you would. For instance, the truck driving industry.
Right.
We've known for a long time that we were losing more of those than we're gaining, so we know we're at a deficit for those.
Yes.
There's no reason why we couldn't scale that back to our own region and say, you know, how many people are employed in truck driving today? How many are employed as welders? And yeah, absolutely.
And the reason I'm thinking that is that we could target those kids in these programs that we have and
Give them
say,
a better understanding of
yes,
where the
that we-
opportunities are at. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think we can
It'd be
definitely do
interesting to look into.
Yeah, and like Bob mentioned a while ago, you know, that those last 2 years of high school and maybe 2 years of community college or something
Exactly.
like that, you know, there's a lot of these kids that, young people that will go to community college, but are not gonna go on for a 4-year degree or
Exactly.
whatever, and, you know, you can get your 2 years of community college and do it pretty much debt-free. You don't have a huge student loan debt coming out of 2 years of community college, so, but it would work very well with that, to find out, you know.
It was really interesting, of the 6 regions of the city with high-paying, or the state of high-paying, high-demand jobs, Kansas City was the only one who needed more truck drivers
Really?
Really?
Huh.
That's strange.
It's crazy.
because of their great big logistical center,
Yeah.
Because we don't have one of those, do
Yep.
we? Huh.
or any agricultural demands. So, well, it'd be interesting to see what's next.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of them go to four-year colleges, don't have any idea either.
Yeah, you're exactly,
Yeah.
they don't
They're
even,
just going.
they go to school and don't
Just
even
going.
do what they went to school for. That's
Or they
what's
get in their
amazing.
mind
Yes.
that I have to be in Kansas City or
Yes.
some big metropolitan area, and they realize when you go there, the job market is tough. I mean, they're,
Yeah. Yeah,
There's a big article in the League of Municipalities this month that is saying, we need to get kids out to these meetings. We need to get kids out to the county commission meetings, the city commission meetings, because look at us, right here, how old we are.
Yep.
We need those,
Speak for yourself.
I mean, really. We need some young people knowing, because they're gonna make the decisions.
You're right, though.
We're actually working on putting together a youth economic development council that we would work with the high schools on, just for that reason, to really give kids the opportunity, number one, to learn Robert's Rules of Order and understand parliamentary procedure and be a part of how that works and how we respect one another and everybody gets the chance to talk and so forth. But also because they are the future and we need to know what they would like to see happening in their county and in their region as we go forward. So we really want their input in really into the quality of life development. But we also think it gives us a really good opportunity to educate them about the opportunities that exist here for them, but also about how you serve and how you learn to serve and work your way up through that. the city has always done a tremendous job with their advisory councils of really preparing people and helping them better understand how the city works, you know, just how does the government work to begin with. We'd like to see that spread and really give people the opportunity to be a part of making those decisions. And it's always interesting when you talk to people who've had the opportunity to sit on one of those, that they're always surprised that there's so many different elements you have to take into consideration. And so I completely agree, Ron. I think it's just extremely important that we get our young people involved in serving and teaching them how you serve. So, yeah.
I'm working on that proposal, so you should get it
thank you.
next month.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Shannon.
Good job.
Appreciate your
Thank
report,
you.
and
Congratulations.
congratulations on your appointment to the city commission. You will probably be one of the most informed city commissioners there is, because you basically sit in on everything before and after, and yeah, so good luck with that. I don't have any new business or old business. Do you have anything, Lana, that
I do not, sir.
would go in there? Okay, our next board meeting will be April 24th, then May 22nd after that. So I do have a need for a executive session for 30 minutes.
I would say 20 to 30, and there will not be any discussion of non-elected personnel that's noted on here. It is just a discussion that
Client
would
confidentiality.
protect our clients' confidentiality.
Okay. There will not be any non-elected personnel discussion, but yeah, you're okay. So it will just be on client confidentiality and discussion there, so. And I anticipate there will be no action probably taken after that
No.
either, so. Okay, with that, I would,
I move we adjourn into executive session.
I'll second that.
get a motion and a second to adjourn for the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We will adjourn for a couple minutes and then.